Hello, everybody, and welcome to Just Talking About Sports. I'm Drew.
And I'm Ethan.
And Ethan, what are we doing today?
Just talking about sports, baby.
I'm doing the intro today. Whoa! Well, I figured I might as well give it a shot. And on today's episode, we are back with college football. We will be briefly running through the rankings, and we will be covering the major bowls and even some minor bowls to give a shout out to some of the smaller teams that work so hard to get here, And all right, I think with that, Ethan, you want to briefly run through the rankings?
Yeah, we'll just start off with the top 10 for now, at least where we finished in the final rankings or the college football playoff rankings for this year. We had Alabama at number 1. They were a clear number 1 team as they were unbeaten and nobody could stop them. Clemson at number 2 after they moved up after beating Notre Dame. Ohio State number 3 and Notre Dame at number 4. Those are your top 4 that are in the playoffs. And then we move to the rest of the teams that are in the top 5 or top 10. We have Texas at number 5 after they beat Tennessee, and they just barely missed the playoffs or the cut to make the actual college football playoffs. You have Oklahoma knocking off Iowa State and them moving all the way up to 6th seed. After that, you have Florida remaining unchanged at number 7. We have Cincinnati moving up 1 after beating Tulsa in their conference championship game for the American. Georgia falls down because they didn't play, and Iowa State's down 4 spots after losing to Oklahoma.
Very good, Ethan. All right, I think then I'll take the rest of the rankings. 11 through 15, Indiana, their game against Purdue got canceled. I'm sorry to all you Hoosiers and Boilermakers who are looking forward to that game, but they stay pat at number 11. Coastal, their conference championship was also canceled, so they go to number 12. North Carolina, they moved up 2 spots to number 13. Northwestern, there was no change after they dropped the Big Ten championship to Ohio State. And Iowa stays put. They go up a spot to 15. And then 16 through 20, BYU also moves up a spot because USC dropped 4 spots after being upset by Oregon in the in the Pac-12 championship. Miami stays put at number 18. Louisiana and Texas, they also stay put at 19 and 20. And now 21 to 25, Oklahoma State stays put at 21. San Jose State moves up 2 after winning the Mountain West Conference Championship. Congratulations to them. North Carolina State and Tulsa each moved down a spot. Tulsa, of course, as Ethan mentioned earlier, lost in the American Championship to Cincinnati. And Oregon is a new entry into the top 25 after upsetting USC in the Pac-12 Championship. So I think that'll do it for our rankings. And now let's just get straight into it, the bowl games. You got your New Year's 6 games, your Rose Bowl, your Sugar Bowl, College Football Playoff Semifinals, Orange Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Peach Bowl, and Fiesta Bowl, and so I think we will just get right into it. In the first bowl that we're going to cover, it is happening today, the day that we are filming. It is the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic featuring the Oklahoma Sooners versus the Florida Gators. Ethan?
This is the number 6 seed versus number 7 seed. So these are the teams that just barely missed the cut to make the college football playoffs. And usually it's the Big 12 champion versus obviously runner up to the, I believe, SEC. So that is Florida versus Oklahoma. And it's going to be a really good matchup this year as we have key players on Oklahoma like Spencer Rattler versus another quarterback on Florida side, Kyle Trask, 2 guys who have been basically playing very, very well. And Kyle Trask, as arguably on stat-wise, has been playing better than Joe Burrow on paper. So it's been a big surprise.
Whoa.
He has.
That's a statement right there.
So that's the Joe Burrow from last year when he played for LSU and they won the national championship. So seeing this Kyle Trask guy, he's trying to improve his resume, especially against like a big game like Oklahoma for the Cotton Bowl Classic. So we'll see what they have in store for us, but it's going to be a very good game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Oklahoma is favored by a field goal. They're arguably one of the hottest teams in college football after losing a couple earlier in the season. Florida, also a very, very good team as they stayed in the top 10, even though they've dropped 2 straight. But, I feel like this is going to be a very competitive game. Like Ethan said, the battle of the quarterbacks, Rattler versus Trask. And, I feel like Lincoln Riley and Dan Mullen, 2 very good coaches, they'll be battling it out, and it'll be a very exciting game to watch. So.
All right.
The next bowl that we have, some of the smaller teams are getting a shout out. The Offerpad Arizona Bowl taking place December 31st, New Year's Eve. We have the MAC champion Ball State Cardinals, chirp, chirp, and the Mountain West champion San Jose State Spartans. And so in that bowl, San Jose State heavily favored, 9.5-point favorites, but that's okay. I feel like Ball State, San Jose State, they both had very good seasons, both resulted in a conference championship game. And I feel like although Ball State might be a little bit outmatched in the season, both teams should be very proud to get to this point. And, it's a bowl that on that day, I feel like that is the bowl to watch, but then that takes us to New Year's Day. And oh boy, happy New Year as we start 2021 with all sorts of college football action. And the first bowl that we're going to cover that takes place New Year's Day, the Cincinnati Bearcats and the Georgia Bulldogs face off in the ChickfilA Peach Bowl.
Yeah, another two teams in the top 10 that are going at it. And this is a game I think that many people have been kind of looking forward to, as Cincinnati has been trying to prove the entire season that they are indeed a top 10 team, despite being the highest ranked Group 5 team and not being in the Power 5 conferences. They're in the American, and they've been basically trying to prove that they could battle with everybody else and compete with everybody else. And they are still undefeated with a 9-0 record, still have not lost. And this will be their biggest test, as this is their first time going up against a bigger, or I guess, Power 5 conference team to prove that they really do deserve to be up here. And it's up against Georgia, who, Georgia only has 2 losses to Florida and Alabama, who are both ranked number 1 and number 7. So Georgia's 2 losses are very respectable, and Cincinnati is trying to prove that they can go 10-0, and they really did deserve to be in the top 10, despite not being basically not versing as hard of opponents as the players in SEC. But once again, a very great game that we're going to be looking forward to.
Well, you know what? Screw top 10. Cincinnati feels snubbed, and I know some people that are Cincinnati fans that believe they should have made the playoffs. And the last time we saw something like this, a team from the American Conference that went undefeated and felt snubbed, that they were left out of the playoffs, they beat their opponent in the Peach Bowl and eventually put up a banner that crowned themselves national champions for that year. Yes, I'm talking about UCF. But Cincinnati feels that they're in a very similar position. So, hey, who knows? Can history repeat itself? And like Ethan said, this is a very, very big test for the Bearcats. But you know what? I forget it. Even though they're 7-point underdogs, I believe that Cincinnati can step up to the task and really compete and possibly win this game.
Mm-hmm.
And the next bowl we're going to go over is the Verbo Citrus Bowl, which is Auburn versus Northwestern.
Another great game. At least it's not. Does not have as many ranked teams, as Northwestern's the only ranked team, and they're only ranked number 14. But this is still going to be a very good game for people to tune into, despite it being both teams combining for 6 losses between the two. Usually you're like, man, all these losses between the two teams, is it really going to be worth watching? It still will, because it's going to be a defensive masterpiece between these two teams. Northwestern has had one of the best defenses in the entire NCAA football college football this year, as they put up a really good fight against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. Looked like they had it in the bag, and then Teague took over for Ohio State, and which we'll get into more in our college football playoffs when we get into talking about them more. But I think it's going to be a very good game. Northwestern, I think, should be able to put Auburn down, but Auburn never goes out without a fight, and we'll see what they have in store for us, I believe, on New Year's.
Yeah, no, I agree. Northwestern, they've had a very, very good year. I feel like they've been underrated by a lot of America, but, they stuck with Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. And I feel like they can really give Auburn some fits. And hey, Vegas seems to think that they're going to win. They're favored by 3.5 points. So, I feel like it's going to be a very, very good game, although it may be overshadowed by some of the other bowl games going on. Hey, tune in if you get a chance. I feel like it'll be a good game. You won't be disappointed. And now we will go to a game that takes place on January 2nd. Crocky, mate, we're going to the Outback Bowl, giving the Hoosiers a shout out. The 11th ranked Indiana Hoosiers versus the Ole Miss Rebels. Indiana, what can we say about Indiana? We don't give Indiana enough love on this channel. And, hey, go Hoosiers. They've had a great year, a lot better year than I would have. If you would have told me that Indiana was 6-1 and ranked 11th, at the end of the season, I would have told you were nuts, but here they are, and they're favored by 8 points to Ole Miss, and honestly, I think they should be favored by more. Jack Tuttle done a very good job for the Hoosiers, filling in for Michael Penix after he tore his ACL. And I feel like Indiana's going to light it up against Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think Indiana is deserving a lot better, in my opinion, of a better bowl game too, especially since they're 6-1 and they're going up against a 4-5 Ole Miss team. But Ole Miss is arguably in the SEC and they are in a 10 times harder conference in a way. But I feel like Indiana should be able to. If Indiana wants to really prove that they are by far and we're really worth the 11 seed, and which they so far have proved it and should be maybe even higher. But I feel like Indiana should be able to handle this one, and that shows when they're being favored by 8 points in a bowl game that is supposed to be a more competitive one in your Outback Bowl. So I had to include that one. But I feel like this one's going to be another fun one to watch, and we'll see what Indiana has in store, and maybe even they could prove why they should have been even higher.
Yeah, well, if you want to see a lot of offense, tune into that one. The next bowl that we're going to go over is the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, another New Year's Six bowl, versus 2 ranked teams. You have the Oregon Ducks, Ethan, I know you're a big Ducks guy, versus the Iowa State Cyclones. Yeah, throw up the O.
I'm just gonna, for now, I won't be any bias towards any team. I'm just saying for now, the fact that Oregon is even in this game is unbelievable, because they didn't even make.
They weren't even supposed to be in the Pac-12 championship. So I mean, hey, the fact that they upset UFC, I mean, they earned it.
Mm-hmm. So, and then they went, and obviously, like you said, they knocked off USC, which was, if they ended up winning this game or that game, they would have been ranked even higher. They could have stolen a seat away from Indiana, stole one of their highest, because they could have moved up high or above them. But Oregon is now back in the top 25 after being knocked out for a while after they struggled in the Pac-12. But now they're back in it, and they're up against Iowa State, who also is coming off a loss. So kind of 2 teams on the opposite ways of the horizon. Iowa State was looking big. They had a big loss, and Oregon was tired of losing, and they had a huge win. And now the 2 teams coming from basically opposite side of the spectrum, they're going to be going up against each other. We'll see what they have in store. Going to be definitely a good game, and cannot wait to see if Oregon can really continue their magic they've had so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real question in this game is, can Oregon stop Brock Purdy and the Iowa State Cyclones offense? Because, I know that they've been electric all year, and that offense has been rolling. So if Oregon can find a way to stop them, I mean, hey, more power to them. I think they'll find a lot of success in this game. But if Iowa State gets that offense rolling, I feel like they're going to run away with it very, very quickly. So, and with that, we will go to the Capital One Orange Bowl, featuring the 5th ranked Texas A&M Aggies versus the 13th ranked North Carolina Tar Heels.
All right, another big ranked game. This is the highest seed, the first team out of the college football playoffs, in Texas A&M going up against a Tar Heels team that did very well against your Miami team. I'm not going to throw too much shade at them.
You know what? It's all right. We got stomped by North Carolina. They stole the Orange Bowl bid from us, but you know what? We have nobody to blame but ourselves. And congratulations to North Carolina. They have an electric offense, and if there's a team in college football that I think that can keep up with Texas A&M, I think it's the Tar Heels.
Yep. I mean, North Carolina's offense has actually been exploded in the last recent games that they've been playing, and that shows that if they continue this absolute just masterpiece of offense and just clobbering teams, I think they really could be able to surprise people who believe that Texas A&M is just going to easily run away with this. I think it's going to be a lot closer game than people think. Texas A&M is favored by 7.5 points. We'll see if that really is enough. Take the over on this game if you're betting, because it's going to be a high scoring game.
I mean, although we're giving a lot of credit to North Carolina, and deservedly so, Texas A&M is going to come out playing angry, because I know Texas A&M feels that they deserve that 4th spot after Notre Dame lost. So they're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder, and I feel like this game could go either way. But I definitely agree. Take the over. It'll be a high-scoring game. And now we will go to the Big Daddy, the Big Kahuna, the 2 college football playoff semifinal games. The first one taking place January 1st, the Rose Bowl game, the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, I have talked to a lot of people about this game. Notre Dame, the argument for Notre Dame being in, some people think Texas A&M should have gotten in. Some people think Notre Dame should have gotten in. I would have gone for Notre Dame. But no matter what the discussion has been, the narrative is this: whoever got in that 4th seed is lined up to get smacked by Alabama, absolutely smacked. And everything points to that. Alabama being the best team in the nation. They're 11-0. They have 2 Heisman finalists, Mac Jones and Devonta Smith. I mean, they're favored by almost 3 touchdowns, which is absurd in a playoff game. And not to say that Notre Dame hasn't earned the right to be there. I definitely think that they should have been. I think Alabama is in a different class altogether with them and maybe Clemson, as the 2 best teams in the nation. But the narrative that, Notre Dame is lining up to get absolutely steamrolled, I think it may be true if Notre Dame isn't careful.
Yes. It is just amazing to see that this is a college playoff game. And for anybody thinking, playoffs, that means it's going to be a close game. Both teams are going to have a chance at it. When the team is favored by 19.5, that means the other team is not likely to win. I mean, in the slightest. And I love me some Irish, Notre Dame Irish. But basically we said that last week that Alabama was on an entirely another level. And maybe, like you said, also said Clemson. And just for Notre Dame, I believe they do. I mean, in a way, they did deserve to make it because their only loss came to Clemson, who is also on another level, and that was
the resume was strong enough for them to make it. Let's be real.
So, and then basically, congrats, you guys made it. Now you have to deal with, like you said, the unbelievably feats of Alabama and their unbelievable offense and defense, just all around, just absolutely amazing. Like, I think this Alabama team could arguably start going up and play very well against some NFL teams at the moment, maybe some Jaguars or Jets, but that's a whole other discussion for another day.
Whoa, haven't the Jets won 2 straight?
They have won 2 straight. So that in their defense, they have won 2 straight.
But this isn't an NFL episode. It's a college football episode. So let's go back to Alabama, Notre Dame, shall we?
Yes, I will stick with that because I feel like Alabama should be able to take away with this one. Congrats to Notre Dame on making the playoffs, but it will be very, very short-lived.
Yeah, I mean, it's David and Goliath. What are you gonna do? You have the big bad Alabama Crimson Tide, going up against Notre Dame, which arguably should or should not deserve to be there. But with all things being said, I think Alabama will advance to the national championship to play either one of these 2 teams in the Sugar Bowl. The Sugar Bowl is taking place also January 1st, and it is taking place with the Clemson Tigers and Ohio State Buckeyes.
Oh boy, one of the more controversial teams to make the college football playoffs right here. Ohio State played 6 games due to COVID, and they still are in the number 3 seed. There's arguments on both sides for did they deserve to make it or did they not? I mean, they played 5 games. They had the Big Ten change it so that they could make the championship, and then were able to overcome Northwestern. So, I mean, as much as we hate it, they're 6-0. I mean, maybe if they played a little bit more, one of those games, they could have been upset. But we'll see if Ohio State really is the real deal or if they're not when they go up against Clemson. I mean, Clemson's favored by 7.5 in this game, and Clemson is similarly to Alabama, they are on a whole nother level. When you got a guy like Trevor Lawrence, like what else is there to say about this dude? He's probably going number 1 in the league. And then you also got Travis Etienne as their running back. Clemson has just been an offensively beast when Trevor Lawrence is playing, because their only loss the entire season came when Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing. So now that they have Trevor Lawrence here, Clemson should be able to take this one. I did hear recent reports that their offensive coordinator and their running backs coach will both be unable to go to the game because they are under COVID protocol. So that could throw a little monkey wrench into there because Clemson will be missing their offensive coordinator. But I still feel like Clemson should be able to take it with all the talent that they have on offense. I feel like it'll be just a little too much for Ohio State.
Yeah, no, I agree. Clemson's also a juggernaut, just like Alabama. And I watched a lot of Clemson football this year, whether it was smacking my Miami Hurricanes or equally smacking the Notre Dame Irish in the conference championship game. When I look at this Clemson team, I believe that this Clemson team has the potential to be the best team in the nation. And it's impressive what they can do on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball. Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, they're a 2-headed monster that when they get rolling, they cannot be stopped. And on the other side, Ohio State, they're good. You know, once they got into the Big Ten championship, I think we pretty much all acknowledged winning they're in. But I mean, that's just the way it goes. I mean, they're 6-0. They haven't lost. They're here, but it wasn't pretty in the Big Ten championship. I mean, they only won by 12 points, and their ground game was absolutely electric versus a Northwestern defense that has been pretty stout most of the year. But I don't know for Ohio State. You know, like you said, Clemson will be without their offensive coordinator and running backs coach. Yes. But I don't think it'll be enough for Ohio State. You know, I think Clemson will be moving on to play Alabama in the national championship game.
I think we're all just really looking forward to that Alabama-Clemson game because I think that'll be one of the most electric games in college football that we
No, that'll be the big one, you know? And I mean, hey, but you never know. You know, that's why they play the game. Who knows? It could be Notre Dame versus Ohio State, and we all could be wrong. So do I think that's going to happen? No. But then again, any given New Year's Day.
We can't count any team out.
No, you cannot. And with that, I think that's going to do it for our coverage of college football and the bowl games. So until next time, we'll just be here just talking about sports.
See ya.